I'm broadcasting live tonight from Abuja. Just got in, and we tried to make sure to do it before I left, but there was not enough time. So just as I got in, I said, let's get this over with so that when I go into the new week, I know that there's a lot of other things happening. So that's why. And so this has never happened in all the broadcasts I've done. So I'm broadcasting live from Abuja tonight, and I wanted to get that out of the way before we go into the new stuff happening in the week. So if you were just joining us, I posted that one, by the way. I still posted it that way. Hopefully this doesn't go off again. But if you're just joining, I was trying to say what my topic was tonight is that the best outcome in a marriage or in a relationship is between two virgins. And I was trying to define what virginity is, in the context of this series that I'm doing, that I'm talking about mental virginity, giving an example of a phone, the iPhone. If you give a phone out, I've used iPhones forever. So if you give a phone out, what I'm trying to say is that you always clean your stuff out before you give the phones out. You clean your stuff out. And once you clean your stuff out, the person gets it, and the person don't have to see your stuff, and your messages no longer go to that line. And then they use it like it's a brand new phone, even though it wasn't a brand new phone when you gave it to them. But then because you wipe all your stuff out clean, they reinstall it, they set it, they can even change the language, they enjoy it as a new phone because you did everything that you were supposed to do. Now, so at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is when we come into marriage, a relationship with all our black belt championships with all our sexual escapades, with all the blasts moments and everything we have, you hail yourself and you tell yourself, I know me, girls know me. Or as a lady, you say, me, I'm a tigress, they know me. And then you disregard the body of your partner, you disregard the body of your wife, or you disregard the body of your husband, because at the end of the day, you are not giving it attention like it's new. Why? Because you have come into the marriage with mental baggage. You have come into the union with mental baggage. So you are approaching it, okay, if it's Musa that you used to have the best sex with, you want to try on your husband what you used to do with Musa, that Musa used to scream. You want to try, if it is Lovina as a man that you used to have the best sex with, you want to now go and try it with your wife, the same thing. Now that means you're not clear-headed. That means you're not clear-headed. That means you're not coming in right. And those are some of the things that lead on to infidelity, because what gave someone else pleasure in your past may give someone else pain, may give your wife pain. So when I say virginity, fine, we might not have that situation where you are a virgin or she's a virgin, two people are biologically virgins or physically virgins, but I'm saying come into a marriage relationship as a mental virgin. You have to delete every escapade, every championship moment, every accolade you have gotten. You have to forget about that if you want to have a happy marriage. If you want your spouse to enjoy you, you have to forget about that. So you are not replaying stuff for them. You are not replaying moments that have happened with someone else on them. And then they end up complaining to you. They end up complaining that they're not feeling what you think you are giving, and you are angry because that same thing you're doing created a different feeling with someone else. So the best outcome of marriage is between two mental virgins, two people who come into the union with open-mindedness. The way Adam saw Eve for the first time and was like, oh my God, I can't wait. If you buy a toy for your child, they spend the whole day exploring it. They spend the whole day. And I was giving an example of a car. So you don't just take your friend's car or buy a brand new car and jump on it and go. It doesn't happen like that. What happens is you check the buttons. You check, where's the brake system here? Is it different from the one? So you learn it newly. And when you do that, there's no way you would take time to study your spouse. What makes them happy? What makes them sad? That's what works for everybody out there before you met them, And I remember when I taught this at a men's meeting some time back, a man was kind enough to ask, So how do we clear all these past memories from our minds? How do you get to do that? If you're asking that question, I'm glad that you're asking that question. Like, so how do you clear your mind of every escapade, of every experience that you had before meeting your wife? Because if you don't clear that before you meet your husband, before you meet your wife, if you come in there, it's going to be tension. It's going to be like, I'm doing something and it's not registering the way I want it. No, you need to learn that person from head to toe. You need to learn their buttons. You need to learn what works on them. You need to learn. You cannot come like you know anything before. That's the best way. That's what I mean by mental virginity. You have to come in there like, I don't know nothing. I'm just looking at this body. I've never seen it before. I don't know how to get the best out of it. I'm not going to replay John. I'm not going to replay Mike. I'm not going to replay Clifford. I'm not going to replay Rufus. I'm not going to replay Lavina. I'm not going to replay whatever. You know, I'm not replaying. Where are all the names? Somebody give me names. You know, so that is one of the that's one of the keys to avoiding. That's one of the keys to avoiding infidelity. Because if you are replaying someone on your wife or on your husband, and your wife or your husband don't give you back what that person gave you back, guess what? You start missing the other person. You start missing the other person, and the next thing is that you want to go and have a replay with that person because you're not finding fulfillment with where you are presently. You'll be like, I know when I did this to Grace, I know how she screamed all night. I know what she said. Then you're angry with the wrong person. So, but when you begin to discover this person, like you don't know anything, like you're not a champion, you know, in any way, and you begin to learn them, you begin to do the adventure, because that was the original plan of God in the garden. You know, if marriage was supposed to be between two people who are just saying, like, oh my God, you are the bone of my bone, the flesh of my flesh. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So you're excited about this person. Every time you see this person, you are excited about them. Your exploration becomes natural. But when you say, well, I used to be with this girl, her name was Sandra Leah, and then, you know, like, once I touch her hair, it's all over. I touch your hair every time, you're just standing there like a log of wood, you know. It's not going to produce for you. It's not going to produce for you, right? Because you're going to end up creating anger with that person, and then you're going to end up creating resentment. And that person too, what if that person began to think of who they were with before, you know, and say, oh, I used to be with a guy, like, once I just, like, touch his ears, he would just be a pile of potato right there. But I do the same thing on you, and you're just there like a dead body, you know, and all that. And then we use our past to insult the people in our present, you know. It's unacceptable. And at the end of the day, what happens? What happens is that resentment begins to build, and those people begin to think. Everybody begin to think of where they've been. If you do that, it's gonna be a problem. Okay? So, and that's why we're saying you have to delete, you have to format your hard disk, you have to clear whatever you know. You have to come in like, I don't know nothing. I'm seeing you like you are the best thing that happened to me, and I'm willing to explore you until you explore each other, until you can now proudly say, I know where all the buttons are, you know, with my husband. I know where the buttons are with my wife. You know, at the end of the day, you produce the best out of each other. And you know, I said this at the meeting, and everybody opened their mouth. I said, you know, a good relationship is like when you play the piano. When you play the piano, there's something called the formation of chords.